Okay, it is Friday, November 2nd, 2018. We're just about to wrap up the trading week for coaching students in the chat room. And I wanted to make this video just to sort of end the week and to answer a few questions. I made a video yesterday. We were talking about some take profit levels, and I sort of sent that out to a lot of people on my email lists that are also interested in some coaching, just so that they can get an idea of what I'm actually doing with the coaching program, what they get, what you do, how you sort of participate, and how you make money with my coaching course. I put that video out yesterday, and I talked about some specific take profit levels that had not been achieved just yet on some of the trades that we still had open, primarily the euro dollar and then the pound yen. So if you go back and you watch that video that I sent out, those trades were still open on those currency pairs that I just mentioned. They were still open, active trades. They had not hit their final targets, but they, for example, when I made the video, the euro dollar was here. It had already hit its first target, but we were waiting for price on the euro dollar to hit that final target. So I want to use this video as an opportunity to share some examples of what my trading system entails and how we make money, how we determine our profit targets, how I help you ensure that you're going to get the right results, that you're going to get results that are similar to mine, right? Because that's one of the top questions that I get is, how likely is it that you as a new coaching student are going to be able to duplicate what I do? And the way that I've been able to solve that issue is to have that live coaching trading one-on-one environment. It's virtual, right? You're doing it with me sort of in a chat room environment. We're doing this online, and I trade with you during the New York and London session, London and New York session. And then during the Asian session, the chat room is open and available, and I do updates. But that is usually the time that, markets sort of go sideways and flat for a little while, and there's not a whole lot of activity. But you also stay connected with me as a coaching student because I give you text messages if it's sort of off chat room hours, but something is taking place. Because that happens, right? Sometimes you can't guarantee, you can't ensure that these continuation breakout trades or any technique is going to set up at the exact same time every single day. It doesn't work like that. So if something happens out of the ordinary and it creates an opportunity, I send all of my coaching students, they're in my address book, so that I can send out a text message to everybody. And then if necessary, I either give or include the trade as a trade call through the text message, or I'll do the same thing and say, here's the trade and here's the setup, and I'm going into the chat room because it requires a sort of an emergency type of session, chat room session, where I would walk through the details of all of the trades. And if you miss those trades, then that's why you would use the trade copier, which is something that I included as a bonus for the coaching students, so that if you happen to be asleep or whatever the situation is, or at work, I can execute the trade for you. Now, besides that, I want to talk about this one particular subject that is one of the biggest challenges. So as a coach working with thousands of traders over the years, I started doing this in 2007. My first coaching student was actually in 2005. That was a private one, a close friend. And then I opened it to the public as far as my coaching and my services in 2007. So I've worked with thousands of Forex traders. And one of the biggest challenges that me and my coaching student have to overcome in many cases is breaking the habit of the coaching student, breaking that habit of taking profits too soon or changing your mind when the trade is open, and then changing the results. So basically they're changing the plan. And many of you are experiencing this now. I did the same thing. I would get into trades even as I developed my trading system back in 2001. I would get into good trades and I could get the execution right. But as time continues, it sort of plays tricks with your mind, or you allow your mind to play tricks with you, with your with the way you're thinking, and it changes the outcome. So you'll take profits too soon, or you'll hold on too long, and you either cut short a good trade and make a small percentage or a small number of pips that's really available overall, and or you might hold on to the trade too long and it's a good trade and there's profitability in the trade, and then the whole thing rolls against you and you get stopped out because you didn't take profits where you should have. Now that still happens. That still happens with anybody. I mean, that's going to happen at any time, and that's one of the challenges that I work with my coaching students is to break that habit. And one of the things that I need to do, my responsibilities, is to show you that my trading system works. It's proven. It will work. It will always work. It's built on solid market principles. There's also a psychological reason why price moves the way it does. And I've incorporated that into my expectations as far as take profit levels and my entries on these trades. Very often, these trades will also set up with economic data. So you get a lot of confirmation. It's not like I'm just picking these technical trades out of thin air and picking these take profit levels. There's a very specific reason why these trades work. I calculated that. I did a lot of research. I spent a lot of time analyzing daily average trading ranges. How far could you expect price to move after a breakout? It's interesting because when I did that back in 2001, this was, my own efforts in creating my trading system. But when I talk about it's built on solid market principles, I want to share with you something that I noticed happened after I had created my trading system. I was looking at and learning market psychology and the structure and why price moves. That's one of the biggest things for me that I will ask myself when I see a trade setting up is why is price moving? Is it likely that I could really expect price to move to a specific level based on the data and what is about to happen with future data? These are the kind of questions that I'm asking. And in the beginning, it's hard to understand those concepts and why and how all of that will come together. But over time, when you practice that thought and that idea and you create a system and you create a mechanism that brings in this information to you, which is something that I share with my coaching students. I teach them what to be looking for, how to weed out the data and the information, what to look for and what to ignore. That helps compile all of this confirmation to execute a trade, and then the expectations. So I mentioned that I looked at these take profit levels based on how far I could expect price to move after, let's say, a breakout trade, and with some data and things like that. So I was measuring them over and over and over again. And very often, as I mentioned, these breakout trades will set up, not all the time, but they very often will set up with economic data. So you can go back to a particular economic report if you see a breakout, look to see if a report was available at that time and if, in fact, that's what caused it. And then you measure the distance. You can measure the distance over and over again. It takes a while, right? It takes a lot of back testing and then forward testing. This isn't something that you can just do 1 or 2, 3 times. This will take months and years of data, report, measuring, dissecting the trades, analyzing why they didn't. All of that I did. That's exactly what I did to create my trading system. It was extremely time-consuming, expensive, and it's not easy at all. But I had all the free time in the world because I had sold a business prior to getting into trading, and I was determined. I was hell-bent on becoming successful. No matter what it took, no matter what it cost, I was going to do this. So I spent every waking hour going through all of this information. So I want to share with you not so much just how great it was, the amount of time that I spent on it. That's not what I'm trying to prove here. What I'm trying to prove here is that it works, and I calculated, measured it, and it continues to work. And I want you to have confidence in the trades as a coaching student so that you can execute them with confidence. But I'm there to show you exactly when they set up. I'm there to tell you exactly when to get into the trade and exactly where to take profits. I don't turn my back on my coaching students. I'm there speaking with them using a microphone just like this. So they hear me. They hear the analysis behind the trade. I explain the trade to them. They're not just doing this and taking my word for it and then doing it on their own. I'm there with them, actually virtually holding their hand through these trades. So something that I found interesting after I had developed my trading system, it was back in about 2007 or 2006, right around there. I'm just going off memory. I don't remember the exact date. But there was a video that I found about Kathy Lean. Now, a lot of us know who Kathy Lean is. I believe she started working with FXCM or Forex.com. I forget where her trading career started with one of those companies. And now, obviously, her and Boris have their own business. And from a day trading point of view, this is just my personal opinion. I hope that I don't make anybody upset by this comment, but I really liked Kathy's ability to understand the overall market activity, why, from an economic perspective, from a political perspective, and her analysis and her ability to convey that information in a story or a report that she puts out through email or posts on. I think now she's got things posted in investing.com. There's an app for it that you can get updates and it'll pop up on your phone. So I like her reporting style. She's very concise. She's been on Bloomberg. She's been on CNBC. I like the way she communicates the information. But it's difficult to take that kind of information and then translate it into a specific trading opportunity here on the charts. Like, where do you get in? I remember hearing some of their comments and I would think, okay, I agree with where they think the euro dollar or the dollar or whatever she was talking about. I agree with where they think it's going to go. But how do you find the exact moment to get into the trade and where to take profits? Because you're not going to be able to talk to her after she tells you where she thinks the euro dollar is going to go, right? That's one of the challenges. You can gather this information, but what do you do with the information? That's another thing that I teach my coaching students. Anyway, back to this video that I saw years ago. It was a video about Kathy Lean. I believe it was when she was working with Daily FX or something like that. Anyway, she was showing new I don't think they were interns, but new traders. They were analysts working for the same company that she was working for. I believe if it was FXEM or Daily FX or something like that. And she was in charge of teaching and training these new employees or analysts. And she was doing exactly what I had done, which was go back to a particular economic event based on what you see on the, you go backwards in time with the economic calendar, look for specific events, and then look at the charts. I remember the video she was showing a new analyst on the charts. They actually showed it in the video. She was telling them to go back to that event with the chart. I don't remember what time frame they were using, maybe a 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, something like that. And then they were looking at the results. And then she was telling them to measure the distance after that economic data, that report, but noticing the difference in what was expected to what was actually delivered, the actual headline numbers for that particular result. So sometimes you'll notice that nothing happens with economic data. It might be as expected. So it's a sort of non-event and nobody really trades it. Nothing really happens. And then there's maybe a reaction later on or some more analysis and talk about maybe future reports, and then maybe the market will jump in a little bit more, sort of offsetting the direction or the expectations of future reports. But that's what she was teaching her new analysts to do, which was to go back and point to that point in time where the breakout actually occurs and then measure the distances. She wasn't obviously doing it the same way I was with this continuation breakout trade. I don't think she knows anything about what I'm doing, but it was interesting to note that that's what I did as far as that scientific approach. That was one of the methods that I was using to calculate the distance on these breakouts. That's not the only method that I'm using, but it was one of the methods. It was a lot of backtesting and understanding which reports are likely to create an opportunity and which ones are not. And then even when you know which ones are likely to create an opportunity, that doesn't guarantee that you're always going to get an opportunity. That's another thing that you got to keep in mind. Now, taking into consideration everything I just explained, that my trading system is built on solid market principles. There's proof. There's exercises that I work with my coaching students to show them that it actually works. It's my responsibility to prove to them that it works so that I can remove some of that fear and that sort of hesitation. But then there's a lot more to the trader psychology than just that, right? That's not the only issue that people are going to experience, but that's one of the starting points. Now, besides that, then there is the idea of actually taking control of each one of these trades and executing side by side with me. So when you get into a trade, I'm getting into the trade. That's how you know when to get into it, right? I tell you, I'm getting into this trade right here at 1.1367. I'm going to be using a 55 pip stop loss and a 55 pip take profit level. Now, because of the choppy ranges here, and we still have to deal with this week's high, I think it's best, and I'm going to lock in the first half of my profits here at the 20 pip distance. Sometimes I'll do that with the continuation breakout trade. Now, the final target, and I point this out and I show this on the screens to each one of my coaching students as I execute this trade with them, the final target is 1.1423. So taking into consideration that even though you know that there's certain reports that could trigger or give you a trading opportunity, but you can't guarantee that because you don't know what the expected numbers are going to be and how the market's going to react to it, right? That's that market reaction, the psychology behind that move as well. You still need to follow the trade plan. The trade plan tells me that I know that on these continuation breakout trades, if it's possible that it won't really necessarily go to, or it might find some trouble going to resistance in this case, if I'm trading it back up, then I need to protect profits and scale out of the trade. If there was nothing over here to the left and this was a clean, clear breakout trade, and I could go to a 4-hour chart and resistance was well above my final 55 pip take profit level, then I just would have traded it to that first or to that final target for 55 pips, not scaled out. There really wouldn't be much of a reason. And if it was, let's say, consolidation that was in place for quite some time, then the market has that pent up energy, right? A lot of people are trying to trade this particular currency pair if they've been chopped up a lot because it continues to move inside a consolidation for, let's say, a few days or even a week. That happens. The market, once it breaks out, everybody wants to get in that position, right? They've been waiting and waiting. This is a popular currency pair to trade. They're going to trade it. There's going to be a lot of momentum and a lot of volume, especially if it lines up with the news. So again, I wouldn't really have to worry about scaling out of the position. I would trade it to that target. But again, I have ways, and I teach you how to do this, to determine what if it doesn't. Is this the type of environment where it might not and it might stall? So let's protect some profits, which is what we see here. It's pretty choppy over here to the left. However, when I made the video yesterday, I talked about that the final target is here at 1.1423. I haven't moved these price tags at all. You can go back to the video from yesterday, and you can see where price was when I made the video versus where it's sitting now. I think it was probably about 30 pips away or something like that, 25 pips away from that final target. But I said that if price goes back up here to the 1.1423, that's going to be our final target. Now, sometimes with these trades, price will move to that 55 pip take profit level, and then it'll move on maybe 15, 16, 17, 20, maybe even 25 pips beyond that final target. And sometimes in the back of your mind, especially with new traders, my coaching students, they'll think, okay, well, the last time we traded, it went about 20 pips beyond that 55 pip take profit target. And very often they'll think, okay, so maybe the next time I take this trade, it will do the same thing. So I'm going to, this is their thinking, they'll think, I'm going to hold beyond that 55 pip take profit target, because the last time it cleared, it went quite a big distance. And what happens is traders are thinking to themselves, okay, well, I want to make more. Well, I want to make more. I do too. I think that every day. But the way to do that is to still follow the plan, execute accordingly, and then look for more opportunities. So I talk about being aggressive with my trading, but it doesn't mean that I'm being reckless. And it doesn't mean that I'm changing the take profit levels or the stop losses or anything like that. It doesn't mean that I'm scalping and just chasing price up and down. That's not what it means. When I say that I'm aggressive but not reckless, I mean that I'm going to put more hours into my trading. I've got to take care of myself, right? You don't want to do this when you're exhausted and you're not mentally focused and you can't think clearly. You do not want to make a financial trading decision when you're exhausted and you can't think and process this information. It is not the way to go. I tried it and it didn't work out very well for me. In the beginning of my trading career, I was trading around the clock. I thought it was funny. I had my computer next to my head. I thought I was amazing. I was going to be a great trader because I was going to be trading around the clock. I didn't care and I was just going to sleep on the weekends. And that caught up to me and it caused a lot of problems for me from a health point of view. And I was young. I mean, this was like a long time ago. It was 17, 18 years ago, and it still caused problems for me. I wasn't able to focus in on my trades. I'm not talking about being exhausted and trading around the clock. What I'm talking about is sticking to certain office hours that you're going to be trading, but be more dedicated and more be paying attention to the trades more often. Very often people will start going on Facebook and they'll start looking at videos and they start, reading other things, and then they miss trades and they're not paying attention. You really need to give that dedicated block of time that you're going to be trading and focus on the charts. That's your job. That's why you're here. You're here to make money and you're here to look for more opportunities. So I'm going to be looking for more trading opportunities, but they all have to be perfect trades. I talk about grading my trades. That's one of the things that I do, and they have to be perfect trades, not just price movement. That's not what I'm talking about. So that's what I mean about being aggressive but not reckless. I'm just going to put in more time. I'm going to be more focused. I'm going to take care of myself even more, right? I'm going to protect my environment. I'm going to make sure that I'm rested, that I'm eating right, that I'm focusing and I'm reading the right things and I'm putting together the right source of information so that I have access to it and I can quickly make a trading decision. I know what's going on, not just guessing and watching price moving around and not understanding what's behind it. That's what I teach in my coaching system, in my coaching course. That's what you learn by working with me. I show you exactly what I'm looking for and how I'm processing all of that information. That was a mystery to me in the first year of my trading career. I remember thinking, I want to know what these professional traders are looking at. What are they looking at? Like, what are they reading? What are they understanding? Who are they listening to? And what are they ignoring? Because I was just like all over the place. I didn't know what to listen to and what to do. Anyway, I teach you how to do that. So going back to this particular trade, the continuation breakout trade, if we follow the plan, says the final target on the euro dollar is 55 pips. It's possible if there was news as it's approaching that 55 pip take profit and the news supported a move higher, then you could trail the trade higher. But you've got to have a target. You still have to have a target even if you're going to go beyond the target that is appropriate for this particular technique. What I want to talk about specifically here is that this trade, I'm going to detach the charts here so I can go back to it. This trade right here hit that 55 pip take profit exactly. It stopped right at 1.1423. That's exactly where it stopped, and I had that price tag sitting there. You can see in the video long before it actually hit that level. It was about 20, maybe 30 pips away from that. But I knew what the price target was the moment I got into the trade with my 3 pip entry, according to the continuation breakout trade. And I just repeat this over and over and over again. So again, as I mentioned, sometimes when I'm trading with some of my coaching students, they'll say, okay, well, remember last time, Joseph, we traded the continuation breakout trade. It went to the 55 pip take profit, and then it went further. So do you think it'll go further this time? And I'll say to them, even if it does, I'll pay attention to it, but I've got to follow the plan. I'm here to make money. If I've held onto a trade, and this is a 1 hour chart, by the way, so if I've held onto the trade for 10 hours, 11 hours, I need to get paid. I've got a family to feed. I've got food to put on the table. I need to get paid. That's what I'm here for. I have investors that I have to trade for. I'm here to get paid. One way or the other, that's why you're in this business, is to get paid. It's exciting and it's interesting, and there's always something to learn in this business. I get that side of it, but you're also here to get paid. That's why you're in this business. So you have to follow the plan. You've got to lock in profits, and then that's it. So I'll tell my coaching students when they ask me, do you think it's going to go further? I'll say, it might, it could. I have no idea. I mean, really, it might, unless we've got some economic data right at that time. I can't say how far it's going to go. It might. And the other issue is, we're not even looking at a 4 hour or daily time frame. The 4 hour and daily time frame could tell us something bigger is taking place, and maybe we could hold on to it a little bit longer. But relative to the information that we have here on this time frame, just the 1 hour time frame, that's all the information I have. I'm trading off of this 1 hour time frame. So I've got to take profits. This will happen very often where I find a perfectly good continuation breakout trade like this. I call it out, we trade it to the 55 pip take profit, and that's it. It goes right to that pip, and that's it. It's done. One of the reasons why I manually close my trades is because of this exactly. When I first put together this method, and this is why trading is hard, right? So you could put a take profit level and then walk away. A lot of people like to do that. I tried doing that, and the broker would widen the spread or something would happen in here, and I could see that with another platform it went through maybe by a pip or two, so it should have closed, but my broker wouldn't have closed it if I walked away. If I went out to dinner, if I walked away or whatever, didn't have the ability to be notified as price is approaching this high. As price is approaching this high, I have trade alerts that are warning me 7 pips, 5 pips as away from that final target, so I know to be prepared to take the profits, and I've got to be ready. I've got to be watching. I turn everything else off. I don't care. I'm not going to be reading emails. I'm not going to be looking at Facebook. I'm not going to be making videos. I'm not going to do anything. I've got to sit there as it's approaching that take profit level because this could happen. And that's why I manually close my trades. When I see 1.1423, I'm closing it at 1.1423. I might even just close it at 1.1422 if that's what happens because I'm manually closing the trade, but I'm going to lock in profits. And if it's possible that price could go further, I can't say that I don't care. I do care. I'm going to watch it, but I don't care in regards to will I change my take profit level. No, I won't. I need to take profits at this level. That's what my trade plan tells me. I know this because I've been using this strategy for almost 18 years. I know this because I measured it over and over again with economic data. I took daily average trading ranges. I know that it works just like this over and over and over again. And I know not to mess around with it and not to just say, okay, well, last time it went further, so maybe I could get more. No, you've got to lock in profits. You've got to pay yourself. You've got to take profits and get paid for the efforts that you're putting into your trading. And I know it's hard to break beyond that. You know, when you see these sharp, strong, bullish candles at one point in time, it looked like probably at one point that it was going to go a lot further. But you can't, you don't take that for granted. You've got to do the right thing. In order to continue to stay in this business, you've got to be able to repeat this pattern and this behavior over and over again. It's a matter of controlling yourself. You can't control price, you can't control the market, but you can control your behavior and your decisions. That's where it all comes from. Your ability to stay in this business and grow, and then to eventually add more lots to your trades and start sending home money to start paying the bills and start buying cars and start buying bigger houses. It's not going to happen if you keep changing your take profits and everything else. And this is another thing that I go through with my coaching students is they know that. They know that's probably going to happen. If they keep changing the outcome, if they keep changing the take profit levels or taking profits too soon, they know that they're not going to make enough or that they're giving back some profits. They know all of that. But the only way to get through that is to start doing it with me side by side every single day. You get to trade with me every single day. There's not a limit on it. You know, we're talking about 10 hours a day of trading. And then if something happens during those off hours, you get notified so that you can execute these trades and follow this behavior, this pattern. It's just going to take repetition. That's one of the things that I remember experiencing and thinking about and processing as I was piecing together my trading system. It was just going to take time. For every single one of us as a trader, it's a different amount of time. It depends on how we get our thinking straight. Are we working with a coach who's going to help us and help, you know, sort of ease some of those thoughts. You get a little crazy sometimes in a trade. I know because I experienced that. That's exactly what I went through when I first started to develop my trading method, and before that when I was losing all this money. You get a little crazy with it. Money is not something that anybody wants to lose, and it can affect your relationship. I've seen divorces over it. People in trading chat rooms that I belonged to back in 2001, I remember this guy posting that he was no longer going to be in the chat room anymore. He had lost over $500,000 of his family money, and he was getting a divorce. It was a mess. And I've worked with traders one-on-one who were already divorced because of their trading and their bad habits and letting these crazy thoughts go through their head. They were all over the place. Working with somebody who's going to help you control those thoughts and control your behavior and help to calm you down and recenter you and focus you and help you visualize the future that you want to become. That personal trainer, that trader, that personal idea of what you have is success as a trader, you've got to be able to start envisioning that and then behaving accordingly each day. That's what you do. That's one of the benefits of trading with me side by side, is that you're actually performing as a professional trader, that trader that you envision. I walk you through all of that. I know it gets a little psychological sometimes, but that's what it takes. That's what it takes, is sharing these thoughts and sharing these ideas and keeping my coaching students focused. Again, going back to this, don't take it for granted. Lock in your profits according to any trading system you're using, whether it's mine or somebody else's. You've got to follow the plan. You've got to lock in profits. If it continues higher, and this is a trend that's just going to go higher, I'll probably get another second entry opportunity. Sometimes this is exactly where it stops. You've probably seen on my website some testimonials. I have some coaching students who will say, I don't know how you picked that exact bottom, but you did it, and it's amazing. And it's not... like I said, I'm no genius. I just took the time, and I was disciplined, man. I've got to tell you, I was not going to let go of my dream of becoming a trader. I was going to die trying if that's what it took. And I was determined, and I did this 7 days a week. Even when the markets were closed, I would sit here and calculate and measure and look at these breakouts and look at these reversals, measure different time frames, and I just couldn't stop. I don't know what it was. It was a personality. I knew before I got into trading that I was going to be good at it, but I wasn't prepared for the amount of work that it was. Had no idea. I had nothing to compare it to, but I wasn't going to let go of it. I've got that personality where I just won't let go when I start, and it doesn't matter what it costs. It doesn't matter, what I pay, how hard it hurts. I'm going to do it. And so I want you to know that that's everything that's behind these trading systems and these ideas and concepts as far as take profits and stop loss, all of it. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to my trading system, and that's what I can teach you. I can't teach you, obviously, somebody else's trading system. I teach you what works for me and what I've been able to do. As a result of trading like this, even off of the 1 hour time frame, looking for continuation breakout trades, trading the T2 pattern, trading the HL30 pattern, all of that, you can make over 10,000 pips a year. You can make over 20,000 pips a year. I've made over 30,000 pips in a single year. And I trade standard lots, or the equivalent of, and I keep on increasing it at different times depending on the environment. And you can do the same thing. I remember when I started trading 5 standard lots. So a standard lot, I was earning about $10 a pip, and you can see where I'm going with this. I was earning over $10,000 pips a year, and I trade a lot more than just 5, the equivalent of 5 lots today, but you can make a hell of a lot of money with this. There really is a lot of money, and the ability to do that is in following the plan. Follow the plan. If you want more money, you're going to have to put in more time, but not to the point where you're exhausting yourself, you're getting exhausted and you can't focus. That's not what I'm talking about. I tried that and it doesn't work and doesn't last very long. That's not the way to do it. You don't have to do that. I actually have a fewer number of trades every month and every year. And I'm not saying that I don't trade that much. What I'm saying is I have fewer trades compared to when I was scalping and I was trying to trade the first 2 years of my career. And it wasn't necessary. But obviously, once I figured out these trades, these techniques, then I could just simply get into them and hold them to their take profit levels. And I just repeat the same pattern over and over again, the same trades. So I'll show you what happened. Obviously, you were there, and you can see that there was a bounce, a pullback, and a Tech 1 trade was actually placed in here in the direction of the trend. And then there it is. And then we traded non-farm payrolls today. This price tag right here, actually, we traded it off the 5-minute chart. So I do that also just to share with you. I've got the question, what about news events? Do you trade the news with your coaching students? Yes, absolutely. I'll call out a trade and I'll explain it to them. If my coaching student is working with a broker that doesn't really support trading the news, and what I mean by that is, a lot of brokers, if you question them, and I know because I did this, right? I would go and if I wanted to open up an account with a particular broker, I would talk to them and I would say, hey, you guys don't have a problem with me trading the news, right? And they'd say, no problem at all. You can trade whatever you want. I'd say, okay, you don't have a problem with me scalping, do you? And they'd say, no problem. But as soon as you open up a trading account, I've had this happen to me where I try to trade the news and then all of a sudden my trades disappeared. Nothing happens. They don't load up in the platform. And then I remember, and I've got a story, you probably heard it before, where I called the Forex.com trade desk. This was years ago. And the trade disappeared. And then they checked their servers, told me that there was nothing there, nothing, on my account. I was good. It wasn't going to pop up later. And I even said that. It's not going to pop up in my account later on, right? Like in a few hours. And they said, no, you're good. So I go out to breakfast. This was like 5:30 New York California time, because I'm trading 8:30 New York time economic data, and my trade was gone, right? That was the opportunity, so I knew there was nothing for me to do. So I go out to breakfast with my wife and come back 4 hours later, open up my platform, and there the trade was. They filled the order and they told me that they weren't going to do this to me. So anything can happen with these brokers, and so when you ask them questions, you got to be careful with it. But anyway, so if you're working with a broker, make sure that they allow you to trade the news and they really get you in and get you out of the trade quickly. Some brokers will just stall the whole thing and they'll say, oh, we're just taking on too many orders. That's likely to happen. That doesn't happen with every broker. That doesn't happen with every platform. It's not true. Some of them will take advantage of that, knowing that, and knowing that we as traders, retail traders, know that, and that's what they'll do. They'll slip your orders, and they're not going to close these trades. They're going to slip on the entry, and it's a mess. So be careful. But if you have a broker that gives you fast and reliable execution, then yes, you could certainly trade the news with me. I will help you process the economic data and understand where to get in, where to get out. So our entry here was at 1423 off of a 5-minute bar after non-farm payrolls. We had the result of the reports. and reading through and scanning through and making sure we knew exactly what we were trading. The first target here was a psychological level. So inside of trading ranges like this is something else I'll share with you quickly. I've been talking a lot about lately using the Fibonacci tool. I've been seeing a lot of people making videos on YouTube, and they're using the Fibonacci tool, and they're just sticking the Fibonacci tool wherever they find it, like with the most recent price action. And then they start thinking that they're looking at legitimate bounces off of like the 382 or the 618, and it doesn't work like that. You've got to be using the Fibonacci tool at an appropriate A high, B low, something like that, or A low, B high, depending on the direction of the trend, whatever the case might be. You've got to do it right. And there's a way that you can start with the live candle and work your way back to determine where you should start, how you should start labeling and measuring your ABC price swing, that method, and then using the Fibonacci tool accordingly. And then using the Fibonacci tool as the extension targets for price targets if you're going to get into the trades. So psychological levels, if I can't use the Fibonacci tool comfortably, let's say I'm going to short it here and I still don't have a clean A, B price swing, but I want, and I can see that it's going to come down lower, I'm going to trade it to psychological levels and then also incorporate the pivot points. This is a 5-hour chart. I just switched it from a 1-hour chart to a 5-minute chart. And there's my entry on the 5-minute bar, but I'm going to use psychological levels. So for me, psychological levels, and I trade like this. This is something that I incorporate in my trading system. I use this all of the time. I always have. Psychological levels are big. They repeat over and over again, and very often they line up with support and resistance levels and pivot points and Fibonacci extension targets. So the 00 is the top priority for me as far as take profit levels. If I'm trading, like let's say if I'm going to short it here from 23, I'm going to definitely lock in profits here at the 1400 level. From 23, there is no other psychological level. I mean, there's a 20, but that doesn't make any sense for me to go from 23 to 20. I'm not scalping. I want more than that, and I can get more than that depending on what's driving price. So again, going back to a lot of misguided concepts or things that you may not understand at this point, you have to know why price is moving. Why would you expect price? If you're thinking that you should short it, why is it going to go further, lower, right? Why is it going to trend to the downside? Why should you sell it? Where do you expect it to go? If you don't have answers to those questions, you probably shouldn't take those trades. You're just scalping. You're just hoping for something to happen, and you don't really know what it's going to do. I don't trade that way. You can't trade that way. Not with any consistency year after year after year. I've been doing this for almost 18 years, so that's how I look at it. You need to know what's behind and what's moving on every single one of these trades, and you're going to make more money. So again, the first target was the 1400 level, and then the next psychological level I use is the 50. Well, the 50 is all the way down here below where the price is, but beyond that, then these intermediate ranges, psychological levels, are the 20 and the 80. So if it clears through the 00, then of course we're going to trade it to the 80. That's a lot easier. You don't have to lock in profits on a situation like this when you see it dropping. I mean, that's a 5-minute bar, so it's pretty obvious that it's going to keep moving. You can easily trail this when you're closing or when you're watching the closed completed 5-minute bars, trading it to the 20. And you'll know quickly when it's going to turn around and reverse, so you can lock in profits and make sure that it doesn't go beyond the first take profit level if you're going to scale it down like that. But on the news with non-farm payrolls, this was a relatively safe trade. So that's how we traded non-farm payrolls. I mean, there were a few opportunities. The other trade I want to talk about, I know I'm talking about these trades from yesterday, and it doesn't have anything to do with today, but I did get several emails. They wanted to know, okay, so what are you doing with these trades afterwards? Like, we saw the video, but now what? When I completed the video yesterday, this was one of the other trades, the pound yen. The pound yen, I talk about when I trade a continuation breakout trade on the pound yen. I'll just end with this one here, the video after I complete this discussion here. The pound yen, the final target is 250 pips, but I scale out at the first 150 pips. If I'm looking at a market environment, which is similar to what I talked about with the euro dollar, where it's a little bit choppy over here to the left and there's multiple resistance points, I want to make sure that I lock in profits here. And that's exactly what we were doing. You can go back and watch yesterday's video, and I can explain, and you can see the explanation of what I was talking about here as we got into the trade. This was actually a T3 pattern with activity that was taking place, which was affecting the pound. Right, we talked about yesterday how it started off with the possibility of the Brexit deal, and then later on with the faster-paced interest rate hikes. A lot of that was pushing this and creating a T3 pattern for us. So the entry here yesterday was 145.10, and then there was the continuation breakout trade, and then based on the continuation breakout trade, which confirmed the T3 pattern and that we're trading it in the right direction, that's a continuation breakout trade. And then from there, I make sure that I have confirmation, and then I determine my first take profit level, which is 150 pips away at 147. And then if it continues, it's going to go to another 100 points beyond that first target. So that's the first target. I scale out at 150 pips, and I recommend doing so, especially if it's going to take this much time. But so far, the trend is still intact, right? These lower lows haven't been taken out. It's still making higher highs and higher lows. So it's still intact. So yesterday when I ended the video, we had scaled out at the first take profit level at 145.80 psychological level. And then we were waiting for price to hit the 147, I'm sorry, yeah, the 147 level. Did I say 145? Or 145.80 was the first scaling out level from the T3 pattern. But that's the final target based on the continuation breakout trade. And we were trading the rest of it according to the second signal that we got, which was the continuation breakout trade. That's a lot more reliable for me, the continuation breakout trade, more than the T3 pattern. But the continuation breakout trade was confirmation of the T3 pattern that we traded when we got into the trade. So it did hit its first take profit level at 147. So you can go back to the video, you can see, I think this went as high as 88 or 86. I got 86 and 87 on one. It spiked up and then pulled back down and then eventually went right back up and through and went as high as 147.24. So it cleared the 147, 150 pip take profit level. So at this point, if you didn't scale out here the way we were doing at the 145.80 level, you could hold on to the trade to that first 150 pip take profit target. That's the first level to scale out on this trade on the breakouts. And then the final target is 250 pips from the entry. So it would be another 100 points. So 148 is the final target on this one if the trend remains intact. But at this point, you would have already scaled out with 150 pips on this trade. We don't get that many continuation breakout trades on the pound yen. It can be pretty choppy for quite some time. I mean, sometimes it'll stay inside a consolidation for a week or two, and then we have to wait for the breakouts. But the breakouts are good, right? When the breakouts happen, the rest of the market sees it. The rest of the market's waiting. There's a lot of people that love trading the pound yen. We know that when we see a solidified, boxed-in range of consolidation, even if it takes a week or two before it breaks out, when it breaks out, it's most likely going to continue to trend, and it's going to go to that 250 pip take profit, scaling out at the first 150. And this is accurate 90 to 95% of the time. As long as you do everything right. That means finding the right range of consolidation, finding the right lows, the right highs, waiting for the 1 hour time frame to break out. If it breaks out and gives you a signal, but the indicators don't confirm, you don't take the trade. You just wait. And then you wait for another opportunity. Just keep following it along until you get the exact breakout that you need. Usually with economic data, you can support this move here on the pound yen by watching the pound dollar, watching Japanese yen futures. It's going to give you that confirmation. In another video that I'm going to post in the membership area, we're going to talk about the dollar, my expectations on the dollar. We're going to talk about Japanese yen futures so that we can determine how we're going to trade the dollar yen next week. And I'll load that up in the membership area. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it answered some questions. I really want to help you get your mindset straight if that's what's bothering you on some of these trades. Remember, you want to do the same thing over and over again. And my job as a coach is to, first of all, prove to you that my trading system works, trade it with you side by side, and then help you get your mindset straight so that you can comfortably, without any stress, without worrying about it, let these trades go and pay you just the way they're supposed to. Very often people will get into these trades, even on the pound yen, and they'll take my advice, but they're not coaching with me. And then they'll get into the trade because they think they understand it. They take maybe 50, 60 pips. And then I report that me and my coaching students just earned 150 pips on the trade. And then they get mad and they go, wow, why didn't I just hold on to the trade? He was right. Why didn't I hold on to the trade? Well, that's hard to do when you're not listening to me, when you're not there. And I can talk you through your the way you debate with yourself when you have a trade open. I did that, right? I was in the trade back in 2001, and I would start going, well, what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't hit the final target? Should I just take profits now? All these things, your mind plays tricks on you, and you tend to change your ideas about expectations, and you start changing your stop loss, and you start changing your take profit level. And that in itself, even if you've made some money, will very often frustrate a trader. It frustrated me, because I knew I could have done better. And then I'd start beating myself up mentally and calling myself all kinds of names, and that doesn't help either. So again, having a coach there with you that walk you through these trades, it's going to be okay, right? You're going to get your mindset straight. You'll get comfortable with these trades. You'll be able to execute these trades without even talking to anybody. You're calm, you're comfortable, you're cool, you're collected. Grandchild sitting on your lap. I do this. I just take note, write it down on my journal, execute the trade, let the trade go to its target. Don't say a whole lot, and comfortably just make 150 pips to 250 pips and don't say anything to anybody. And it's an amazing experience. You're able to take care of your family. You're able to change everybody's lives, deliver on your promises of success for your family, take care of them. Your daughters and sons get married, and you can, yeah, it's a wonderful life. Trading provides that. I remember thinking, what could I do before I got into trading? What could I do to make more money? There's going to be a cap and a limit, I kept thinking, with a lot of the things that I could do because there's only one of me. But with trading, adding more lots to a trade and expanding your trading account, you perform the same, you're getting the same, you're waiting for the same trades, but now you're starting to make more on these trades because you can add more to the position. I hope this helps. If you've got any questions about anything that I said here in this video, please send me an email. I'd be more than happy to help you.